After 20 years of fighting, Americans have finally come home from Afghanistan. While there really is no like quick, easy, clean exit from Afghanistan, the troops are finally coming home. Many people have mixed feelings about Afghanistan. Should we have been there? Why were we there so long? It was the longest military effort that the U.S. has been in history. Here with me today is my nephew, Captain Robbie Russell. Just came home from being deployed in Afghanistan. Robbie, thank you for coming on to the show, and thank you for your service.
Unc, I appreciate you having me, man. It's a pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure, my pleasure. So tell me, what's it like to be back home? I mean, you know, it must be a great feeling.
Honestly, it's surreal to be back home, to go from such restriction, not being able to move how you want to move, and then you factor in COVID. God bless, we're back to somewhat normal, but factor in the height of COVID to be deployed. It's nothing like what we experience here, so it's surreal. I'm still kind of getting used to it. I tell people sometimes I glitch, so throughout this interview, if I just stare off into space, just say, "Hey nephew, bring it in."
Don't worry, we'll do that. We'll do that.
I got you.
So, you know, as you said, you were deployed in the height of COVID. Mm-hmm. People have been going there for 20 years. What was it like? What do you remember, like when you first got there and you first hit the ground in Afghanistan?
For me, when I first hit the ground, it was, I can't even really put it into words. And I'm not an individual that's typically lost for words. But the reason why I can't put it in for words is because you get there, the smell is different, the air is different. I want to say it's like 5,000 feet as far as altitude.
Oh, that high.
It's very high.
Wow.
So you get there, and I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? Oof. So I've never been an individual who would have ran from a deployment or tried to get out of it. But it was just, I couldn't believe that I was there, but more specifically that I was able to be there to fight for a greater cause.
Yeah, that is interesting because you were called to go over when everyone was talking about, when I say everyone, the president, like Trump and everyone else was talking about bringing troops home, and then you were called up and deployed. So that must have been an interesting. I'm sure you were kind of shocked because they're like bringing people home and then they're sending you over as they're trying to bring people home.
It was definitely a roller coaster ride. I think the unfortunate part for us is we deployed in an election year. And a lot of people, for lack of better words, they felt like pawns, which I understand. Because when for lack of better words, we're on the front line. Not really on the front line, but we're closer than everybody else back home.
Right.
And you're hearing President Trump saying we're going to go home. But we also are hearing that President Trump probably isn't going to get reelected. So then you start thinking, well, is President Biden going to follow through on the things that President Trump wants to do in X, Y, and Z? So that was a big factor, is just deploying in an election year. There's so many uncertainties. It kind of no way to be at ease.
Right, I'm sure. Well, I don't know how much you can talk about your deployment, but everyone knows that, you know, when you're in a combat zone, in a war zone, there's a lot of dangers, there's a lot going on. Did you have any like terrifying moments, like, you know, when you first got there, or was it a transition, like a smooth transition, or were you like on high alert from the minute you got there, you know, worrying if you were like, there's going to be a bomb or an IED or something of that nature?
So I would say being in that environment, you're always on high alert. I do have a somewhat funny story. So we're always on high alert. And a big thing that they had going on was drone attacks, where they would drop the bombs from the drone.
Right.
So we would usually have exercises, and they would usually call over intercom, "Hey, exercise is coming." Where we were in the back smoking cigars, what we typically do on deployment. We do work, but every now and again we smoke cigars. And we had the exercise go off, but I didn't hear it. And they use a CRAM, and the CRAM is for when the missiles come across the fence and they shoot them down. Well, I didn't know we had a CRAM so close. So we're sitting there smoking cigars, and they do the exercise out of here, and the CRAM went off. And in my mind, I hear the CRAM go off, and I'm like, oh shoot, it's the drone, they're dropping the drone. So I jump behind the bench that we're sitting at, and everyone starts busting out laughing at me. So that's just an example of how such high alert that you're on, that subconsciously, whenever the slightest thing goes off, you're you have to be ready or prepared to react.
Understood. Well, good. Your reactions were there. You were like jumping over and taking cover.
I was Rambo in 90 something. I don't know the exact year, but
so you guys did have some good times there also. I mean, I guess it wasn't you smoking cigars and what is one of your best memories there? I'm not going to ask for your worst, but we'll just ask for your best memory while you were over.
I would say my best memory would be we got to qualify with the Georgian Army. So a lot of people don't know this, and for viewers at home, is I was in Bagram. And Bagram now is basically a NATO base. So we actually have a lot of allies there. And it got to the point where I would see more allies out than you do American soldiers, especially when we started to draw down. Okay. At one point, I was like, are we the only soldiers here that I'm with?
Right.
But you see more allies. So that was a cool thing, to be able to shoot some of their weapons and go through some of their qualifying exercises.
Did you go out on missions and things of that nature with allies, or was it just with Americans? Like, did you go on patrol and things of that nature?
So I didn't go on patrol, but we did support the special forces individuals. We would fund them with cash. Okay. And I can't go too deep into it because a lot of their missions are secret, but I will say that what we funded, it definitely saved lives from the stories that they will come back and tell.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. How did you feel when you got the word, after being over for such a long time, that you were finally, coming back home? I'm sure you were elated, but when you first heard that you were coming back home, what did you think?
I would say from the time I got notified that I was going home to present day, it was a roller coaster of emotions. So part of me being the individual that I am, and I was going home earlier, because I kind of went as an at-bound party compared to the other individuals. Part of me was thinking, well, I feel like I'm quitting on my guys early, but I know I have to go back and prepare the way for them as well.
Got it.
And then I got back, and I got used to being in a routine. So when you're deployed, you get a routine. You know what you're going to do. My routine was I wake up, eat breakfast, do a little bit of work, go work out for a few hours, come back, eat lunch, do a little bit of work, run, eat dinner, rinse, and repeat.
Got it.
So the routine made it easy being there. So when I got back, it's that you search for that routine. It's how do I get back in a routine? And I think that's very specific, because I know we spoke earlier, even down to shooting and just working out. Everything has a routine, and that's what makes you good at what you do.
Right.
But yeah, I yearn for that routine. And now present day, just to be here and to be able to visit more family, it makes it better. But I think a lot of people search for that routine once they're back.
There's anyone that you remember? You work with a lot of NATO people, but is there like one particular person that you remember from your deployment that like stood out, or that you think about them, you like laugh or whatever? Any one individual or a group of guys that you hung out with? Or something?
I did. So I hung out with a handful of the Bosnians, and it was a one tall Bosnian, and by no coincidence, his name was they called him Draco.
Really?
They did, and I only remember him because he was very outspoken, and he was tall. He's probably like 6'9".
Wow.
We had pretty good conversations when it came just from weapons to working out to life. So that was probably the one that stuck out to me.
How did Afghanistan affect you? Did it affect you? Being in a combat zone, it has to have some effect. How did it affect you?
I would say it helped me in more positive ways than negative ways. I would say first off, it's something there that avoid that you don't have, and for me, it helped me hone in better on my spiritual life.
Yes.
And as I got stronger spiritually, I also got stronger physically, because you don't have anything else but to read and work out.
Got it.
And shoot your weapon to get proficient at that as well. So I would say it made me a well-rounded person, even down to today. I've always been an individual who worked out a lot, but I'm more on it now than I did before I left.
What did you learn? What was the one single takeaway? Like, what did you learn the most about yourself while being over there?
I think the most that I've learned, and which everyone can take away, is we're more resilient than we think. Because there will be times I'll be sitting there and I'm like, I'm only 2 weeks in and I got forever to go. Like, how am I going to make it?
Right.
But when you just lock in and you keep pushing forward, you realize that we're a lot stronger than we think. So that was one thing, is I've always thought I was a resilient person, but that really showed me that I have a lot more to give, even when I feel like I've met my match.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I mean, I worked, in a lot of developing nations growing up. Like I worked in Africa for 3 years and worked in Jordan in the Middle East and things of that nature. And so there's a lot of things we take for granted here that just like simple things, like, you're on a base, you just can't like go to the store, like I just want to go to the movies or whatever. So I'm sure that coming back home, it gives you a grand appreciation for how good we really have it here, and how, your efforts, like other servicemen, like what we do. And a lot of people, I don't think, really understand, the level of service or commitment, and they're here, and they don't understand that they have the life that they have because of soldiers like yourself and things of that nature who are around the world, deployed around the world, helping citizens. Has your view of the world changed since going to Afghanistan?
It has. I think the first thing that people don't realize, and maybe because we've been over in Afghanistan for so long, but Afghanistan is a third world country. And you say that, but most people don't really stop to think. And just something as simple as indoor plumbing that we take for granted. Like if we walk into a store, like you walk into Walmart and they say, yeah, you got to use it in the bucket and then take it outside, you're going to look at them like, yeah, you're crazy.
Right.
So just something as simple as indoor plumbing. But not only that, just the appreciation you have for food and life itself. To give you a story, this morning we were eating breakfast as a family, and someone made the comment that these eggs are kind of runny, and I'm like, hey, Afghanistan standards, this is gourmet stuff right here.
Right.
So it's the little things that you begin to appreciate a little bit more after being over there.
Bro, just having some jelly. It's strange because when I was in the service, I wasn't deployed. There wasn't a war. So I don't have the same perspective as you, and I don't. Although I served, I don't talk much about my military career or my service. So that's why I wanted to get you on the show, so people can have an appreciation for what you do, or what other individuals like yourself do, and what it's like. Because so many people don't know what it's like. Hey, just to leave America, I mean, they haven't been to Europe or anywhere, so they really don't understand, what other countries are like, what other people are like. So we're dealing with a lot of allies and a lot of different people. So not only were you like, in a third world country, but you were also dealing with people and meeting all these different individuals from other countries that have a different social structure and that understand things differently than we do, and learning how to work together as a team and do things together as a team must have been great. I mean, working with, although you're in Afghanistan, it's still, you're learning different social customs and what people think, and it's amazing sometimes how we can like joke with people from different countries who really think like us, and a lot of people really don't understand that people are people like all over the world. We all want the same things. Like, we want to be like happy, we want to have family, we want children, we want to protect and provide and things of that nature. And so I don't know. I've never met someone actually from Afghanistan. I've been to a lot of countries. I've been to 108, but I've never been to Afghanistan. So I don't have that perspective that you have. I don't know if you got a chance to meet, some locals or some natives or anything of that nature. Did that happen for you?
It did. So like I said, being in Bagram, Afghanistan, it's a melting pot. And you mentioned something, just a few sentences ago about how other nations are similar to us, or how other nations would like to be like us. And you take, as an example, the UK. Most of them are not allowed to have weapons.
Right.
And which is a great segue into the Second Amendment. And a lot of people, I believe that me as a service member, we fight so you can have whichever view that you have. But I can tell you that I strongly believe for a fact that the reason why we haven't had a mass attack on U.S. soil is because of the amount of weapons each individual citizen has.
True.
So in addition to them having to go up against our armed forces, you also have to think about each individual home. And I was reading an article not too long ago, and it referenced about when they did the Pearl Harbor, the reason why they didn't continue to it is because so many homes within that West Coast area had weapons. And it made me stop and think, that's outside of whatever people like to think of the current state of America financially. Mm-hmm. We're still a strong nation. And I'm a big advocate for the Second Amendment. Exactly, despite whatever you have. But whatever you think, whether you're pro or you're against it, is just, you got to take that moment to think that how many individuals in America, even if you don't have a concealed carry, you have a weapon in your home.
Right.
If someone was to attack the U.S. soil, how big of a difference that would make on how far they're able to mull through the country.
Well, we actually have more firearms in the United States than citizens. Mm-hmm. I know there's over 400 million firearms, and a lot of people who are against firearms or really have no view. I'm like, if you look at all the countries where they, outlawed firearms or took away firearms, like Russia, like China, and a lot of other countries, mm-hmm. And you see what happened to the citizens once they were disarmed. You sit here and I'm like, well, I never want to be like that. And you look at Germany and the Holocaust, and one of the first things that the Nazis did when they came into power is they took away the guns. Mm-hmm. And you sit here and think about it. I'm like, would we really have had a Holocaust if all of those people would have had guns? Mm-hmm. I think not. No, I'm not walking into. I'm going to fight. Mm-hmm. So you were talking about the Second Amendment and handguns and concealed carry. Do you carry?
I do. So I'm a little bit of an old soul.
Okay.
So I carry a Taurus 605. It's a 357 snub nose, but it shoots 38 and 357. I like that weapon because I have the option of when I want to go to the range and shoot it, I can use the 38 bullets, which aren't as expensive.
Right.
And when my everyday carry, I can use the 357, which are to knock the nose off of a bear.
Right.
So that is what I like to carry. It's easy. It's concealed. I can bend down. I can tie my shoe, and it won't poke or anything like that. So that's what I personally choose to carry.
Now we were talking earlier. The military just switched, mm-hmm. and they were using Beretta 92 series for 20 or 30 years, and they just switched to the SIG. So you were issued the Sig Sauer, what was it, M1, M2 now, which is like the 320, the P320 mm-hmm. version? Mm-hmm.
So we did have the SIG, you are correct, and it was the 17.
Okay, that's right, 17.
Mm-hmm. And I loved it. So honestly, me personally, I'm a Glock guy.
Okay.
We've talked, I've read, I know that you're not so much on the Glock family, but I'm a Glock guy.
Don't say that out loud. People might stop like unsubscribing. Cancel that.
Well, I mean, I don't want to brag, but Glocks could be considered tuxedos of handguns. That's just my personal opinion.
Understood.
But I loved it. It shot a lot smoother than the Beretta. The trigger pull was a lot easier, mm-hmm. and they looked cool. I know at the end of the day, when you're protecting yourself, coolness is not what you're going for.
Right.
That's an added factor.
Right.
Is they look a little bit cooler in my opinion.
Well, I do have my my SIG
mm-hmm.
P320 X5 Legion.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the differences in your M17 versus my X5 Legion? They're built on the same platform.
So first of all, this is a very well put together pistol. Kudos to you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, this is a very well put together. So some of the things that I would say that is different is one, which is kind of an obvious one, is the color. Ours are tan. They're more of the we recently switched a couple years ago to the OCP color.
Right.
So we usually do like coyote brown, tan. It's more of that color. It doesn't have these holes. I'm not quite sure the proper name for these.
They're lighting,
okay.
to make the slide lighter.
Mm-hmm.
The cycles faster.
I don't know if this is a modded trigger, but the trigger is slightly different.
It's a match trigger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But outside of that, it's very close. I think ours are a tad bit lighter.
Okay.
But overall, This is well put together. I would probably carry this. I mean, if it wasn't a 9, but.
Do you like 45s at all? I mean, do you?
I do. So the reason why I prefer, so if it's a Glock, it's going to be a 40. I have a 22 series,
Okay.
which I've had forever. I don't like the 45 because there's too much recoil on it.
Okay.
I like the 40 is the perfect amount of.
40 Smith & Wesson?
I do like the 40 Smith & Wesson,
Okay.
But more specifically with my Glock 40, the 22 series, I like it because it's light, it doesn't have a lot of recoil, but I know that I've seen them shot underwater. I've seen them shoot through doors and things like that. So I'm not going shooting through doors just to kind of to make that disclaimer, but I know they stand the test of time. But I do like 9s as well.
Okay.
My Uzi is a 9mm.
We can't have those in Jersey.
Yeah.
Governor Murphy.
Maybe
Anyway,
another year or two.
I'm hoping. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But I don't have anything against a 9mm. It's just that's just my personal preference. But I think that they're well put together weapons still.
Now you guys are still using the AR platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
So us civilians, we have to use the semi-autos, and ours are slightly different. Like my go-to right now is a Troy A4 Other. You guys can see that it's safe. It's not. But anyway, I wanted you to look at what I typically use and compare it to what you use for duty and for practice all the time when you're in the military.
So most of ours, we have a sling. You can either have a 2-point sling or a 1-point sling. I prefer the 1-point sling because it's easier to pick it up and put and get on target. The handrail, yours is modded, which isn't a big difference, but ours is slightly different. I see you have the I'm lost for words.
For vertical grip.
Yes,
yeah.
Thank you. I do see them on there. If you want this on your weapon in the military, you have to buy it.
Oh, okay.
You have to purchase it.
Right.
However, you will get to take it with you once you turn your weapon back in.
Do yours come with scopes on them, or
it does?
Okay.
Most people have a red dot. I have an ACOG.
Okay.
It's similar to this. I think you could see up to. I don't want to get it wrong. I want to say it's about 600 meters.
Okay.
You can dial it in. But outside of that, the main difference, like you said, is we have semi, but it also goes to burst. And for those of you who don't know, burst, it comes out in 3 rounds. So when you pull the trigger, squeeze 3 rounds on target, you let it go, pull it again, another 3 rounds, so on and so forth.
Super. Well, I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to do like a quick, comparison. I know, my gun is set up for 3-gun competition, so I have a 1-6 Barris on it, and I have a red dot on a 45. So it's slightly different. But having said that, I know it's nothing like what you guys used every day. But I just wanted to give the viewers some idea of what our civilian versus what the military actually use every day. Having said that, is there any takeaway you'd like to leave the viewers? Anything you'd like to say before we sign off for today?
I actually appreciate you giving me the opportunity. I think one thing that I would say is, I don't know if you have noticed, but whenever I always look at cleanliness of the weapon. And I'm a big proponent not only of weapon safety, but weapon cleanliness. And if you don't know how to properly break your weapon down and clean it, that's a no-go. You shouldn't have it.
Right.
So if I had to stress anything on top of weapon safety, is the cleanliness, because you don't want to get in a jam and you need it, doesn't fire.
Right.
And to give you a personal story real quick, is when we were in Afghanistan, a lot of people didn't clean their weapons. And a year before we came, right behind the building I work at, they had a V-bid, which is a vehicle bomb. And the Afghanis came through, and the Georgians shot back, but some of the U.S. soldiers, their weapons weren't clean, so they couldn't put targets down range. Wow. So, yes, gun safety and weapon cleanliness is the 2 things that I would leave with.
Great tip. Thank you very much. Well, Robbie, thank you for coming on. Welcome home. Thank you for your service.
Do I get this as a guest gift?
Let me think about that. No.
I'm gonna get back before I get too attached. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you for coming. Everybody, thank you for watching and another episode of Elite Noire. Captain Robbie Russell, recently home from Afghanistan. Thank you for your service. Signing off. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye now.